All right, guys, it's Saturday. We just got here to the poker room. We're going to up the ante. We're going to play some 2-5 today. Hopefully we run good. Hopefully I get you guys some good content and wish me some good luck. I'll see you at the table. All right, guys, so there's a way to get on a 2-5 table, so we sit down at 1-3, and we look down at a 9-7 of clubs. I like this hand. It looks good to me. I raise it up to $10, and I get 2 callers. And we go to a flop of King Jack 9 with 2 clubs. I check over, and the button bets out $20. So on this board, obviously, I have no plans of going anywhere. The other opponent in the hand calls, and I make the call as well. We go 3 ways to a turn. Turn comes ace of diamonds. Doesn't improve me at all. I'm waiting on the other opponent. He checks. I check back. And the button snap checks back. And the river comes a 5 of clubs. And before I even have time to celebrate, my opponent to my right leads into me for $25. So I'm just debating here on what raise size to use. Praying that he doesn't have a higher flush than me. And I think for a little bit, and ultimately I decide to go ahead and bump this up to $80. With that sizing, I think it's a pretty fair price for somebody with a 2-pair, definitely with a straight, to go ahead and reel them into this hand. The big blind, or the button rather, doesn't think for too long before he lets his cards go, and it's back on the big blind. I'm just praying I don't get raised at this point, because I just might have to throw up in my mouth. And he flicks in the 1-chip call, and I flip over the 9-7 of clubs. He's hesitant to show his cards, which is obviously a good sign, and then he eventually rolls over the 8-2 of clubs. The table's in all saying what a bad beat, but, you know, I don't know if I personally would be playing 8-deuce of clubs to start the hand off, but that's just me. And then we go ahead and scoop a $274 pot to start off the session. So this next hand is really weird. I raise over a limp to $12 with pocket queens, and I get 3 callers. So we go ahead and we're gonna head 4 ways to a flop. And the flop comes 8 Jack Jack. It could be worse, but it could definitely be better. And on the first round it checks around, and the turn brings a 9 of spades. So now there's a flush draw, a straight gets there, but it's a pretty wet and connected board at this point. The first to act actually goes ahead and leads out for $10. And my opponent to my right calls. With so many people in here and so many possible hand combinations, I just make the flat call, and the other opponent folds. So we go 3 ways to a river. And the river comes a total brick, 2 of diamonds. Now the first act goes ahead and slows down. He checks, and my opponent snap bets $10. I don't know what to think at this point. I'm kind of annoyed. I feel like I'm definitely beat. I just think about raising, but I don't think there's any merit to it. I call it $10. I don't know. The other guy looks at his cards for a while, as he always does, and goes ahead and he makes the call for $10. I say, anyone have a jack? And my opponent flips over ace jack offsuit. So yeah, we lose this one. So after that last hand, we actually go card dead for quite a while. We're still not at the 2-5 table. We look down at a nice ace 10 of hearts, a beautiful hand. It limps to us in the big blind with a couple people. We raise it up to a modest $13. Just looking to get some action going. We haven't really played too many big hands in about an hour. The table feels pretty dead at this point. And this hand just kind of shows how the session's going. Everyone decides to end up folding to us with our ace 10 of hearts. We get no action, and we just take down a couple dollars. In this next hand, we're in the small blind, a couple limpers before us, and we look down at pocket queens again. The same exact hand I had earlier. A couple limps before us. Obviously, I'm not interested in limping with pocket queens in the small blind, and we're going to raise it up to $13. And the guy to my right complains. We've been having some friendly talks all game. And I only get 1 caller. We go 2 ways to a flop here. And the flop comes 10-3-8. For some reason, I have no idea why, I decide to check it. Should be betting 100% of the time there. Turn comes Jack of Diamonds. And obviously I'm not going to be checking this card. I lead out for $20. My opponent just smooth calls. He calls pretty quickly though, and he's been playing tight the whole time I've watched him play. Turn comes 3 of hearts. It should not change much here with this guy, I would imagine. So I'm debating on what bet sizing to use. Try to get some value from my overpair. I played it kind of sneaky, for better or worse. I decided to lead out for $40. And before I can even realize what's happening, my opponent snap raises to $150. Yeah. And these stakes, when you're facing a significant raise on the river with somebody who hasn't gotten out of line at all, they just almost always have it. And I'm not talking about a pair of jacks, I'm talking about it. They have a monster hand. So I tank for quite a while here. I want to call so badly, but I know I'm probably just lighting money on fire here the majority of the time. And ultimately I decide to fold. My opponent nods his head and says, good fold. I don't bother asking what he had. We finally get set down at the 2-5 table, and our very first hand, we're in the cutoff. We look down at King Queen offsuit. Folds to me, I raise a $15, and only the button makes the call. And the flop comes 9 Ace King with 2 hearts. I don't hate this board. Although it's ace high, I like my hand. I check, and the button quickly checks back. I don't think he'd be checking back an ace like this, so his range is pretty capped. I'm pretty sure I'm ahead the vast majority of the time here when the turn comes another 9. He could have a 9, but we're going to find out here. We bet $20, and we get snap called, so he calls really quickly. At this point, I put him on maybe a weak king, maybe a flush draw. When the river comes essentially a blank, I debate on betting for value, thin value, emphasis on that, or just checking back and trying to get the showdown cheap. I decide to check. He checks back really quickly. We show him the king queen, and we are good to take down our first hand here at 2-5. Alright, our second hand here at 2-5. We're in the big blind. We look down at a beautiful pair of pocket tens. The button opens to $15 when it folds to him. I should 3-bet 100% of the time, but I love making wrong plays, so we flat call to $15. And the flop comes 4 Queen 8 all clubs. I quickly check to the button, and he also quickly checks back. When he checks back here, I think a good amount of the time I'm going to be ahead, especially when the turn comes to 7 of hearts. I decide to go ahead and bet $15 for some thinnish value. The button thinks for a second, and after a moment of thinking, he puts in the call for $15. And when the turn comes an 8 of diamonds, I don't really want to bet anything else on this board. I don't think I get value from anything. I check, he checks back. We show our pocket tens, and we are good to take down this little $62 pot. These haven't been real big pots, but it feels good bumping up in stakes and getting some momentum going our way. In this next hand here, we're in the cutoff. We look down at a beautiful 5-6 of hearts. There's one limper before us. We decide to bump it up to $20, and only the limper calls. So we're going heads up to a flop, which does not come ideal. 10-9-4, all spades. He checks to me, I check back, and the turn comes a jack of diamonds. He checks again, and I'm certainly not going to be winning this with 6 high if this makes it to showdown. I small bet for $15. No sense to go big here when a small bet will do the same thing as a big bet with less risk. He obviously has no piece of this board just like me. Probably has me beat though. And we scoop a little $47 pot with 6 high. Nothing to complain about there. In this next hand here, we are in early position. We look down at a beautiful ace queen offsuit. We raise to the standard $15. Couple people fold, but not really. Everybody seems to like their hand. We get 4 callers here. And we end up going 5 ways to a flop, which comes out queen high, queen 10-3 with 2 hearts. I also have the ace of hearts. I obviously love this board. Being so multi-way, I'm not too interested in checking here. I lead out for $35. I could probably go bigger here, honestly. Being so multi-way, I should probably be betting bigger. But like I said, I like to make wrong plays. I like to mix it up. So $35. And I get 2 callers. So now we're 3 ways to a turn, which comes the 4 of diamonds. Total brick does not change anything. And I want to put pressure on flush draws, straight draws here. I should be going big, but again, I bet $80. Need to be going bigger here a lot of the time. But I'm leading out. I'm trying to be somewhat cautious too with a multi-way hand here. The next guy to act folds, and the other person tanks for quite a long time. I can't tell if he's thinking about folding, raising, calling. I'm not sure what to put him on here at this point. He could be slow playing me with some sort of monster hand. But we're having friendly chatter. He seems to be in a suspiciously good mood as I'm talking to him. He puts in the call, and then we go to a river which pairs the board with another 10. He stops talking, and he leads out for $275. Ugh. I mean, I ask him, why did you have to do this? And I go into the tank. I think he would be playing a bluff or a really strong hand both the same way if he missed a flush, missed a straight, or if he just has a really nice hand. I think back to when he was tanking on the turn, and I think maybe he was thinking about check raising there. And I reluctantly throw my hand away, fall into a deep depression. Alright guys, so we've been playing about 4 hours now. I'm down currently $200. It's been a pretty boring session. The tables are not too live. There's a couple professional players there and a couple regulars. And just, I mean, I haven't ran really bad, but I haven't ran really great. Kind of a boring session so far. I'm going to keep playing for a little bit longer, see if I can get something going here. And I will update you right after. Things get ramped up on this hand. There is an early position raise to $20. I'm in the small blind. I 3-bet blind to $60 just because this guy could have any 2 cards. I don't believe him. I'm just kidding. I have ace, queen of diamonds, a great 3-betting hand, especially in the small blind. You don't want a flat call. And the turn comes 10, ace, 9. I could always lead out. I decide to check over to the aggressor, but he quickly checks back, unfortunately. The turn comes a queen of hearts. My interest in checking is now gone on this board. I lead out for $75 for value. I do not know what to put this guy on at this point. I mean, he's played everything under the sun. And he quickly makes a call. The dealer just takes a while to put out the river card. But when he does, he blesses me with another queen. So I have full house. I'm trying to think what I can get value from here, how much I should bet. Ultimately, I end up deciding on a value bet of $175. And I get very quickly called. And as he calls, I flip over the bad news for him. And he shows King Jack for the straight, and I wish I went higher. But I cannot complain about taking down a $627 pot. This next hand ends up being our last hand of the session here. We're under the gun. We look down at a beautiful pair of 10s. We raised to $15. Someone in middle position makes the call. Everyone else folds, and then the big blind also comes along with the call. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. And it comes 8, ace, 2 with 2 spades. I check after the big blind. It checks around. The next card comes a 6 of spades. So interesting card. At this point, the big blind leads out for $25. I take a quick glance back. Make sure that I do in fact have a 10 of spades in my hand. And I decide to come along for the call, thinking I'm still alive here. And the river comes a king of spades. The big blind obviously does not love this card. He decides to slow down and make a check. There's only a jack of spades that beats me at this point, so I'm going to value bet for $40. And he snap folds and he says, nice hand, drops an F-bomb and shows ace-king offsuit. And this ends up being our last hand of the session here. Feels good to get some significant wins here at the end when we needed it after being down a couple $100. We're going to head to the register, and go ahead and cash out in this session.
All right, guys, so that concludes our session today. I was in for $1,000 total, and I cashed out for $1,207. So it was about 5 hours of playing. It wasn't the most exciting session that I've had lately, to be honest. Not even close. But, you know, I'm always going to keep it real on this channel, and that's just what poker is a lot of times. It's a lot of sitting, waiting, things not going your way for a while. You hit a couple big hands, and hopefully just make the best decisions that you can along the way. But in for 1,000 total, out for 1,207 for 5 hours. I'll take it, a little $200 win. It's a lot better than coming here and losing. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. And as always, there's going to be more content coming out every few days. So I'm going to be posting a lot on here. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and I will see you very soon.